So now that we've practiced with reference types in multiple ways, including your multiplication table that you should have succeeded at, it is now time to apply this inside of our savings plan. So if you recall, we had this equation where we took F3 times B4 and we fill handled it across. It wasn't working because you could see that the cell references were moving as we continued to fill handle across and move through the columns. The question is, in the original equation, so if I double click inside B5, which cell is the one that I want to keep consistent throughout, right? So if I want to keep B4 consistent, it wouldn't be able to calculate December and January. I want to keep F3 consistent because it's got my wage. Which piece of it is moving though? Is it the F or the 3? In this case, because we're fill handling across and we're moving from column to column, the F representing the column is going to move. So I can put a $ before the F and I can fill handle that across. I might get pound signs. I can just increase the size of my column, and I now can see that in January, F3, my anticipated wage, is multiplied by D4 for January. Now, let's say you were utilizing your wage in a different way, okay? So I'm going to take December through January and all those cells, and I'm going to copy them. So I'm going to select these cells. Whoops, not move them. I'm going to copy them. And I'm going to go down here, and I just want to test this out. I just want to show you real quick. And instead of just pasting, I'm going to right click and I'm going to do what's called transposing. And transposing is going to actually take the information and it's going to flip it. So when you paste, you can actually flip to show it going across rather than up and down. So this time around, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to take anticipated hours and just replace it over revenues because I don't really need that for this sense. And it's asking like, do you want to replace it? Yep. Okay. So all I did was just click on the border and drag for those and replace them. All right. So now this time I've got my, I have my hours and then they're going up and down by month instead of going across, which is fine, but I just want to showcase this. So let's say this time around, I want to take 84 and I want to multiply it by the minimum wage. So now thinking about it, if my information was going this direction, which one would I need to keep constant and what would I need to keep constant about it? Well, the answer is still F3. I still want to keep anticipated wage constant, but I want to keep it constant by row this time because this time around I'm going to be fill handling it down, and you can see that F3 changed to F5 because I moved down, so the rows moved down. So I actually want to keep the 3 constant in this case, and so I'm going to put a $ there and then fill handle it down and it will calculate it for both months. Okay, so all of that is to show that depending on which direction you're dragging, that's where you need to use $signs. My question to you is, I'm going to select all this, by the way. I'm going to select F6 through H9, and I'm going to hit delete, not backspace. Delete on my keyboard, which will remove everything. Backspace only removes the first cell. But my question is, don't I want F3 to stay consistent no matter which direction I'm dragging? Like, what if I all of a sudden change this and I wanted it to go down instead of across? Well, I want F3 to always be F3. So what you can do is you can have this mixed reference where you have a $ just in front of the column or the row, or you can lock both in place. So I can lock F3 in place by putting a $ before the F and the 3, so that way no matter which direction I drag, it will come across. So now I can take this and I can fill handle it across and it will replace it. F3 will stay consistent the whole time. But what I want to show is if I take this information and I copy and I paste it with transposing, I've now taken my numbers, I flipped them, so these wouldn't have worked before, but they do now because, again, F3 is totally constant no matter which direction I drag. So in this first cell, it's going to be constant, and in this last cell, it's going to be constant because I've made it an absolute reference. Absolutely, no matter what direction I'm going, this will always be F3. So you have mixed references where you just have $ in front of one of them, and then you have absolute references where you have $ in front of both. What I think is important to note is, what are you trying to keep consistent? Are you trying to keep a cell consistent, a certain area consistent, and so on and so forth? So really, what are you trying to keep consistent? So I'm going to go and select that and delete it. And in this sense, we have created an absolute reference for that minimum wage. So if our minimum wage increases and we have now gotten another raise and we're now to $13.25, we just go into $13.25, we hit enter, and all of them update automatically. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's way easier than putting it inside the cell as a hard number.